I see so many familiar faces, and I'm meeting new people too, so that's wonderful. I got started with solar in a lot of different ways, but never really thought I could do anything about solar energy. That seems like a really far away, big topic. I used to work for Houston Lighting and Power back when I lived in Houston. There was no solar in that discussion. We were burning coal and lignite, which is a dirty type of coal, and natural gas and nuclear. And solar was certainly not in the discussion. When I moved here, I realized, oh my gosh, we've got all this wonderful sunshine, and I love the sunshine. After growing up in Wisconsin and being in gray skies for so long, this was a treat. Oh, we were right about this. Yeah. And was very unhappy when I heard that the Public Service Commission here in Florida, this is 2014, agreed with the utilities and said, hey, we don't really need to keep up our solar rebate program anymore, and we don't need to do energy conservation programs anymore. We've got the utility out of that. We've got the benefit out of that. And the PSC said, yeah, we agree with you. Well, I was really frustrated. I thought, we're going in the totally wrong direction. And about a month later, this was 2014 still, I'm driving home to Winter Park, I'm listening to NPR, and I heard a story that caught my eye, or my ear. It was a woman who had started a solar co-op in 2007 in Washington, D.C. Accidentally. This was not her plan, and I was intrigued by that. It turns out her son and his best friend had gone to see An Inconvenient Truth, and they came home. These were 11-year-old boys, and they said, Mom, we've got to do something now. Does that sound familiar when you have 11-year-olds? Impatient. And she said, well, and they said, well, we've got to go solar. And she said, well, that's probably going to be expensive, and it's going to be complicated. Let me get back with you on that. She did her homework, and she did come back to the boys, and she told them it is getting complicated. The more installers I talk to, the more confused I get, and it's going to be expensive. And, now this is something most people wouldn't have said. She said, and if I'm going to do it, let's involve our neighbors in it. She must have been a community organizer to say that. And she lived in a townhouse development, about 100 units. 45 neighbors signed up and said, we want to get involved. And they literally sat down at her kitchen table and began what turned out to be the first solar co-op. It took 2 years. In the process, other people in Washington, D.C. were watching what she was doing. She was getting some visibility for this. And they came to her and they said, would you help our neighborhood do what you just did? 11 different neighborhoods. And she said, yes. My gosh, this woman has a lot of energy. Along the way, she decided this was getting to be a big project, and she needed to get more organized, and she went on to create a nonprofit. Well, this was the story that I heard on NPR, and they said that Washington, D.C., because of her work, was now one of the most solar-intensive cities in the nation. I love that idea. Wow, why can't we do that here? I called her up. I didn't wind up talking to her. I wound up talking to somebody who was working in her living room, because they didn't have a real office at that point. And we began a conversation. And we agreed, yeah, we could do it here in Florida on a pilot basis. Do what? Well, I'm talking about solar co-op. Well, I do not know anything. I did not know anything at the time about solar technicalities, equipment, all of that. But I did live in my community, and I did know how to network, and I did know how to do a project. So we partnered. And I had a small team from my church, First Unitarian, over on Robinson. And we had a total of 4 of us that did this first project. We held several meetings. They happened to be in churches, and invited people to come and learn about solar equipment and what it would take to join the solar co-op, which by that time we had a website. And people could go online, in fact that was the only way to join, tell us where they lived, their information, their route, and they were under no obligation to pay a fee at that point, and they were under no obligation to sign a contract that might come down the pipe later. When we had, I think all of 10 members at that time, we did with the help of the people back in DC, a request for proposal. And they had done this many times actually, in other states. They were working in 3 other states at the time. It was Maryland, West Virginia, and Virginia. Well, this group met in my living room, and we had the computer set up at the end of the table with the woman from DC who was there to answer all those technical questions that lots of people had about what did that bid look like, and what kind of equipment are we talking about here? And she answered 3 hours worth of questions. Hallelujah. We're so grateful to have her there. It was our group decision as to who we chose that day. She wasn't going to decide that. It was our group decision. And that's the model for these co-ops. The members are invited to come to a meeting, one-night meeting. They're presented with the bids that have been received. The staff will help them understand what's in those bids, and then they make that decision. One installer to work with the entire group. And for the installer, that turns out to be a good deal because they have a list of motivated buyers. Not everybody on that list is going to actually sign up and go solar. Maybe the bill, they realize, ooh, that's more than I really had counted on, or they realize, gee, I need a new roof before I can go solar. I better do that first. Lots of reasons people don't sign up, but usually about 20, 30, or 40% of people do sign up because it's the right time and they're feeling comfortable in the process. And they have help with questions that come along, not just from the installer, but from our co-op people. Well, this was 2015 when we rolled out that first co-op. It was going so well, we did another one before we even finished the first one. We were feeling pretty confident. At the end of the year, I happened to be at the home of Deidre McNabb. How many of you met Deidre? She is amazing, as we know. She's kind of got the golden touch for advocacy. She's just wonderful. And she's great at making other people into advocates, too. I mentioned to her as I was leaving her home that night, because it was on another matter, I said, would she mind, do you think she would be interested in helping raise funds to take our programs statewide? Up till now, the league had not been involved. And I was thinking maybe she might have a wine and cheese for some people in her neighborhood. And she looked at me and she said, oh, this is a project for the league you would go to. Whoa, that would be fantastic. She took it up, and very quickly there was a memorandum of understanding that was signed between the board, the state board, and the nonprofit in DC, Solar United Neighbors. Well, a lot of you know what's happened since then. It's been a wonderful partnership. We, last year, well, at the end of last year, 42 solar co-ops have been launched. 1,200. And in almost every case, there's a league at the center of things. There's a league that's leading the charge. And when they do get involved, it makes a great difference. We've seen some co-ops that didn't have that, and they're not nearly as successful. So it's a great partnership because, again, the network that you have is just so much greater than the staff could ever have. We now have, Solar United Neighbors now has 4 staff. We started out with 1. And actually that very first one had been the president of the Jacksonville League for 5 years. And she seemed to be a great fit for this state director, and it's worked out very well. The league has just signed another memorandum of agreement to go for this year, 2019. And I hope it's a partnership that lasts and continues working. But here in Seminole County, you are about to launch your second solar co-op, February 27th, Altamont Springs Chamber Council meeting room, and the mayor will be there. And I'd love to see a whole lot of you folks there too. It's always great for more energy in the room. If you haven't had a chance to really learn about solar, come to one of the solar public information meetings. But for everybody in the community, bring a friend, bring a neighbor, bring a family member.
The 27th?
The 27th, that's a Wednesday.
Where?
At in Altamont Springs
The City
Chamber.
Commission chambers, and it'll be probably at 10:30 a.m. We'll put flyers out.
It's on the
You'll get the
website
word.
already.
Oh,
It's
you'll
already
get the
on
word.
our website, on our calendar.
Great, great. And there will be 3 public information meetings. Again, free, open to everyone. We want everyone to come and learn, whether they're ready to go solar or not. We want to get, and Gabby's working on finding those locations. Those will be announced very, very soon. So I would encourage you to become solar savvy. If you haven't done that already, go to the website. There's a lot of information about equipment. Talk to some of your neighbors, some of your members who have gone solar. How many of you have gone solar? Oh, right, you've got a lot of people. Okay, that's great because for years, you couldn't find anybody who'd gone solar. And now, in our leagues, we've definitely got that going on. So please, yeah, take advantage of that. And yeah, become solar savvy. That would be my ask for everybody here, if you haven't done that already. So, is there any questions, anything I can add to what we've got?
How
Okay.
do they become solar savvy?
How do you become solar savvy? Well, like she said, 3 things I just said. One is visit the website, which is Solar United Neighbors. 2, come to a public information meeting. That's a great way. And talk to your neighbors and friends who have gone solar. Find out what their experience has been. So those 3 ways.
Mary?
Oh, another question. Yes.
Yes. When I was at the Earth Day presentation, the solar company that won the bid from Seminole County happened to be there. They're Superior Solar.
Yeah.
I got into conversation, thank you, that kind of thing. They said, we're not doing that anymore. We lost too much money.
Okay. There are some of the installers out there who said this is not the kind of piece of business they want to go after. But I think people are finding out, we've definitely got a cadre of installers who say this is exactly the kind of business I'm ready to model my company around. You're right. There are some people who said the bid was too low and they've learned, they don't want to go there. There are some other companies that are saying this is exactly what I want to do. So we're seeing both.
Thanks, Marion. And I would add to this that I became more solar savvy because I was on the selection committee as a member. How many of us were actually on the selection committee? A number of us in the room have been involved in that, and to me, that's where I really got even more of an education in the nuts and bolts of, kilowatt hours and slopes of roofs and all kinds of stuff I'd never bothered to think about. So it was a very interesting experience from start to finish, and I learned so much. Now, our next speaker, I've done his introduction already, but I would